Today I'm having coffee with Drs. Lawrence Spell and Matthew Minella. They're the hosts of Conductors, Brew, a podcast about, get this, conductors drinking coffee, talking about music and stuff. They have different guests every week, they talk about different topics, and they always start off with a different kind of brew. So I'm excited to see what they're brewing today.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Silas, good to see you, man. Fancy meeting you here.
So you are Matt and Larry, and the three of us have never met before, or at least I've never met you two. Obviously, you two have met, and it looks like you're in a beautiful sunny place right now. Although you're wearing jackets, so maybe it's cold out. You're in Utah, is that right?
Yeah, we're in beautiful Salt Lake City, where it's finally a clear day. We had a few weeks of what we call the inversion out here, where we just get socked in with pollution and smog, and it's disgusting. And then a storm rolls through, and we finally got a good snow dump, as they call it here, a snow dump for the last couple of weeks, where they get 100 inches or so in the mountains, and it just clears out everything, and it's gorgeous, and the sun's warm. So we're sitting outside enjoying our coffee this morning.
Yeah, I mean, Salt Lake weather is not terrible. I mean, we've got the mountains, of course, so there's plenty of snow around, but it's not like where you're out in Kansas, man. It gets brutal out there.
Oh yeah, you got tornadoes to deal with.
Oh yeah, I mean, the mountains just sort of funnel all that nasty stuff your direction. So we're feeling pretty nice over on this side, on the west side of the big hills for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I lived in Boulder, Colorado. I studied in Colorado, and I was prepared for the worst, because I know it snows a lot at high altitude. It's going to be freezing cold all winter long, but cold in the mountains isn't that cold. It's kind of comfortable.
Not terrible. No, it's kind of like I'm from New England originally. I'm from Connecticut, and it's way different here from that wet, really humid East Coast. Larry, you know this too, because you're from the East Coast. But the dry air out here or something, it just helps a lot. It doesn't get nearly as nasty, slushy as it does back east of the Rockies.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, it's not bad being outside, especially in the sun. So we're glad to be out here in our usual spot.
We're supposed to hit 60 by Friday. I know, right? We can do our show outside.
Yeah, we'll be back out with the show outside on Friday, because we'll be in better weather.
Speaking of the show, I've been pretty excited about talking to you guys for a long time, because that I know of, your show is the only show that is based on conductors drinking coffee besides my show. So here we are, three conductors who love conducting and music and coffee a lot.
It's amazing. It took
on that note, I guess I should ask you what you're drinking. I am drinking my typical double shot of Illy espresso. Mm-hmm. Just for you guys, I got my special setup. Hold on, let me do the whole thing in shot. This is my special occasion espresso setup, like they would do in Europe.
Oh yeah,
with the bubbly water on the side, and it's a gift from my wife.
That's gorgeous.
But anyway, it's a fancy setup with a little tray and everything, but it's the same double shot I have every day. So what are you guys drinking today?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. This is my favorite thing to talk about, other than music. Today we've got. I figured since we would be collaborating today that. Well, actually, I guess I'm not supposed to say that. I don't know. Yeah, we just ran into each other on the side of the road, and I happen to have this local Utah brew here. This is a Wasatch roasting company. Though, for those that don't know, the Wasatch Mountains are the mountains that run immediately adjacent to Salt Lake City. So a lot of stuff in town is named after Wasatch. And so this is based out of Ogden, Utah, which is just about 45 minutes to the north. It is an Ethiopian, and it's quite tasty. Larry, what do you think about it?
I think it's quite good. Did you do French press on this?
I did the French press on this. Yeah, I didn't do the siphon. Normally I get a little fancy and I get the siphon thing going on. Do you know about this vacuum coffee siphon thing?
I know about it, but I haven't really tried it. So what's the deal?
I have to say, I think it's the only. Well, for me personally, I have very strong opinions, of course, but I think it's the only way to drink coffee. Espresso is different because it's a totally different process, right? You got all that pressure going on. But with just brewing black coffee, that's my thing, is just black coffee. I want to taste the purest coffee possible. The siphon thing, it's got this, it looks like some sort of chemistry science lab project setup thing where we've got a glass bulb, I guess, in the bottom that you put some water into, you apply a heat source to it, and then you connect another glass bulb on top of that. And that's where your coffee goes. And so the bottom chamber is sealed, it heats up, and it forces the hotter water up into the upper chamber. It's the perfect temperature to brew coffee. And it sits there for 60 minutes. It's like an immersion brew, sort of like French press, except cleaner. And then it kind of, when you remove the heat source, it draws the coffee back down to the lower glass bulb, and you decant it, you pour it from there, and it's got, well, for a non-meat eater, Larry, you say it has a bit of a meaty kind of.
Yes,
I call it umami.
Yes, at one point on the show, Matt made some coffee, and it tasted like turkey. And I've been a vegetarian for a number of years, so it's been a long time since eating turkey. But it tasted like kind of an umami turkey flavor.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I've been stuck on that.
Really rich. It's got like that. Yeah, I don't know how to say it other than it's got like a really rich earthiness that doesn't really taste like anything except like meat that's been cooked really slowly for hours. It's hard to describe, but it's more than that. It tastes like the bean itself, like you're tasting a plant. It's not like, like a drip machine where you're sort of just getting half of the flavor. I didn't know how much flavor I was missing until I started doing the siphon thing, and it's incredible. I love it.
And it looks really cool.
It looks a lot of fun.
It's fun to watch.
It's a fun thing to show off, and I got Larry into it.
Yeah, you did. My mom bought one for me for Christmas. she's a big fan of the show, of course. Mom and your dad, I think, support the most. It's half our listenership, but it's she's heard us talk about the show, and so I got one. So we're gonna have a siphon challenge on one of these shows one of these days.
It's particularly good for. I wouldn't use the pre-ground, most store-bought pre-ground coffee I wouldn't use in it, just because it doesn't make a huge difference. I'll spend $20 on a really nice bag and just enjoy it little by little, and that really shows it off. Yeah. Otherwise it's like, but yeah. So if you got really good coffee and you're looking for something a little bit more complex and involved in your coffee experience, sometimes I don't have the patience for it. I just want to get the caffeine in me. But
it sounds like a lot of work.
It is, but that's honestly the process for me is half the fun.
Yeah, he's into the work.
Yeah, I like the journey.
Well, I get that 100%. My process is a lot simpler, I think, but still, it's more than most coffee drinkers who just like to throw some grounds in a thing and turn it on and have a cup. I get a kick out of like measuring the little. Here, this is mine. Get just the right heap, and then packing it in there, and the whole process. It's like a little ritual I do every morning. I can't.
Yeah, totally.
Can't imagine just getting up.
Those kind of things like focus. Sorry, those kind of things like focus your mind. It kind of gets you prepared for the day just to have that process. So yeah, That's good. That's a good way to do it. For sure.
Yeah. So what was and now I don't know either of you very well. We're meeting right now for the first time, but it sounds like Matt, you're the real coffee nut, and Larry, you kind of just will drink whatever Matt gives you.
Exactly. I'm just along for the ride because okay. So here's the thing: is we've been meeting over Zoom, which means I'm responsible for my own coffee.
So this hurts me.
So yeah. So I make bad coffee, and Matt mocks me.
Yeah.
On the recent shows.
He reheats it the next day and drinks it out of the microwave.
I do.
Oh,
I do that.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
No.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
I'll do that in an emergency only.
Yeah. I started. My grandmother used to drink Sanka, so I started there. So I'm still on the rise. You know what I'm saying? Instant
You've
coffee.
got an upward trajectory.
Yeah, nowhere to go but up. But no, Matt introduces me to coffee, and so the whole show kind of started like Matt and I have been friends for a while, and we would just get together and meet for coffee periodically. And then when the pandemic hit, we were stir crazy, and I'm like, we need to get together for coffee.
Yeah, we live in the same neighborhood, so it's like we can just see each other in 2 minutes if we wanted to and just hang out. And that's what we were doing. We were going crazy, like all of us, trying to figure out how to socialize safely. And so we just sit in the front yard when the weather was great. And we're not really at 6 feet right now, are we?
Well,
it's like 4 and a half.
We're close. Get away from me.
For those of you at home.
But the thing is, everything was like, it's safer to meet outside. So we would sit outside and chat, and And then we decided let's record this and put it on the internet.
Yeah, I guess we thought that some of what we talk about was interesting enough that other people may want to listen.
But the point is it started with coffee. It started with Matt or tea, but Matt and I getting together with coffee and him giving me interesting, fun things to drink. And so we decided that would be the beginning seed of the show. And then we're like, and we'll talk about music too.
Yeah, we have our nerd moment of the day usually, which often is the whole show where we just nerd out over music.
Like
Last week it was Shostakovich and something else. I don't remember.
It was the history show.
Yeah, it was the history. We were talking about Shostakovich 5 and I was supposed
history
to
and movements and
research something and I didn't because of Shostakovich 5.
You're supposed to give some about the plague and then you got off.
I had some new insights for you, by the way. I'll have to share them with you this Friday. Yeah.
So all right,
first movement.
We'll catch up.
Blow me away.
How do you guys come up with the subject for each day's show? Do you do it do you wing it, or do you have like a schedule and you plan these things out?
With great difficulty.
Well, no. So we have some shows that we're like, okay, we want to do this show. Like we're going to do a Star Trek show.
We have good ideas.
Yeah, we're going to do a Star Trek show coming up in a few weeks.
Star Trek.
We have some interviews that we line up, ahead of time and kind of plan a little bit further out. But then sometimes we like to mix and do the shows where we talk about rep with our friends, the crew.
I guess we sort of have 3 different kinds of shows, don't we?
Yeah, we have an interview show. Yeah. We have a rep crew discussion show. Mm-hmm. What's the third type of show?
Where it's just you and me and we just kind of BS the whole time.
Yeah, that's because nobody wants to come on the show that week.
Yeah, scheduling just doesn't work out.
We'll just drink coffee. I like these BSing conversations the best.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, this has been, it's like I said, it started very kind of organically just from Matt and I hanging out, and we wanted to sort of see how things go. So we've intentionally kind of kept it loose and not come up with a lot of real formal structure of the show, kind of see where our interests were, what we felt like we enjoyed doing, where we could get engagement. And so the show is still pretty young. We're only on episode 32.
Only
episode 30. Yeah. So we're half a year into it.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
you know what? 52 shows is a whole year's worth of shows if you do one a week. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't think about that.
So we're still kind of figuring things out, but we're starting to get more solidified. Like I said, we like to mix in guests, and we really like those roundtable discussions where we talk about rep and just the things that really excite us about a piece of music. Yeah. We enjoy talking about it. We hope that other people enjoy listening to it.
Yeah, that's basically it. We just wanted to.
It's conversational.
Yeah, we just wanted it to be low stress and just to have a good time hanging out and get other people involved and just talk about what we love to talk about.
Yep.
I totally get that. It's almost exactly the inspiration behind my show is that in the last spring of 2020, everyone was coming up with these really highly educational, professional webcasts and podcasts, and everyone was learning stuff. And I was like, I don't want to learn anything. I just want to BS with my buddies and have some coffee. And I missed meeting up with other musicians in coffee shops. And so, I never have a script or a subject. I purposely avoid having a subject. Although right now I'm doing this little kick where it's like I'm just talking with people who have shows. So I guess at least there's a theme.
Oh wow!
But it leads to really interesting conversations when you don't try to lead it.
Yeah, I'm curious. Without having a script? I mean, so I started scripting things early on just because that's how my brain works, and I needed to organize it for myself that way. But I've since stopped doing it because it's like whatever. Low stress. I'm curious to see what kind of like crazy thing, like what's the craziest topic that's ever come up for you on your show, not having scripted it?
I mean, they're pretty predictable, to be honest with you.
Politics,
Conductors ball. What's that?
Politics and religion?
No, actually, very little. I mean, a little bit of politics, especially in the fall when it is election season. But mostly conductors just want to talk about the pandemic, how they've been getting through it, what they've been doing with the orchestra, or how much they miss their orchestras, and a lot of it's funny if you ask 15 conductors, what have you been doing to stay busy during the pandemic? It's like 3 things that we're all doing. So the conversations are a little predictable, but that doesn't make them any less enjoyable. I just like hearing around the country the way people are doing things, because in some places like here in Kansas, we're doing face-to-face instruction. I meet my orchestra 4 times a week. It's not business as usual because we have masks and distance, and I have a smaller ensemble and all that stuff, but in a way it's kind of like an inconvenience, but we're still rolling. And then you talk to other conductors and they're like, I haven't seen my orchestra in 11 months. I'm dying.
Yeah.
So
we just had the CODA conference, College Orchestra Directors Association, a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about a lot of the just how various it is across the country.
Yeah.
I'm meeting with my college orchestra, just the strings, doing masks, and the winds. The nice thing about Utah is once spring hits, the weather is pretty nice and predictable in the afternoons. Well, actually all day really.
Yeah.
But you can predict that it'll probably be nice. So we're going to think about meeting outside with the winds. University of Utah did that in the fall. So, but yeah, it's amazing just like how different everything's been. And we in the beginning of the pandemic, I was on the CODA College Orchestra Directors had a COVID task force that I chaired. And we put up this document that's basically just sort of mining the information about all the different things that people are going to do and kind of collecting ideas and trying to develop best practices. And there's just a lot of interesting stuff that people, are coming up with. I'm curious to see when this is all over, how much was successful and how much maybe we might continue on into the future.
You know what? If we survive, it was successful.
Well, of course, right. But
no matter what,
fair enough. But like what kind of things really help stay engaged? Like thinking creatively. Like instead of having rehearsal every time, getting together and meeting and having like a lecture series or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see the lessons learned at the end of this. But everybody's doing something different, like you said, Silas. It's it's the Wild West all over the place. Just do what you can.
Well, there have been some unforeseen positives that came out of it. Well, the short answer to your question is that no one has surprised me with some, exciting topic that I didn't expect to happen. We talk about music, we talk about coffee, we talk about our rehearsals. Pretty predictable. But some of the positives that came out of it was for this semester, for example, the first 2 weeks of the semester were online, and I was dreading it. Because I thought, well, I have to do 2 weeks of rehearsals online. I don't even know what to do. So I just talked about the pieces we were going to learn. I gave a lecture on how to prepare for a rehearsal. I did that last semester as well. And just some stuff, the stuff that you always wish you had time to tell your students in rehearsal, but you don't. Because rehearsals from the beginning to the end, they're packed with information. And then you dismiss everyone. You're like, I forgot to give them this really important piece of life advice. Well, I've had time to do that lately. And now I'm thinking that when the pandemic is over, I might just make that a thing. Like the first week of every semester, instead of having a really bad rehearsal where everyone's sight reading everything on the first day, maybe we just have a class where we talk about stuff and listen to music together. Maybe.
I love the idea of doing more than, I don't want to say just rehearsing, because there's always more rehearsing that can be done. It's never just rehearsing, but so much of the process is learning about the style and about what has been done before. It's what's been recorded, what perhaps became a tradition, was not really what was written in the score, for instance. And there's so much involved that goes beyond the act of playing the instrument and showing up to rehearsal. And I always wish we had more time for that when I was in school. When I was as like you all, when we shut down in the spring, I was filling in for conductor on sabbatical up at one of the universities up the road at Weber State University, and we, like everybody else, we just stopped meeting entirely because we weren't sure what was going on with the spread of the illness. So I finally was able to assign a listening assignment, a comparative listening assignment, go listen to this recording of Mozart's Requiem, and then that one, and then that one, and that one, and tell me how they're different. Talk to me about the bowing, about the phrasing style. Tell me about articulations and all this stuff that we never get to really address philosophically in rehearsal, or we don't have time to address philosophically in rehearsal, or we wish we had more time to do. So I agree. I think it was a really a wonderful opportunity in a way.
Yeah. And I had a couple of some of our colleagues up in the Northwest. They had like a consortium where they pooled resources and brought in speakers that they otherwise probably couldn't afford just to pay on their own. And then they had these lectures that they would do with their orchestras during rehearsal time. It was really kind of fast. It was one of the conference presentations at the Coda conference.
I
You may have slept in for that.
I may have
one.
not had my coffee yet.
Yeah, well, they did the conference on Eastern time, and we're out here in Mountain time. You know, we're still.
Yeah, I wasn't
waking
ready to go at 7:30 on Saturday. No.
That's all right. But anyway, we're all getting creative is the point.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to get by. So there you go.
One of my big frustrations pretty frequently is students not being prepared for rehearsal. In my first year of teaching at the university, I was constantly like banging my head against the wall. What is wrong with these students? Why are they showing up for rehearsal unprepared? And then I realized they don't know what that means. They literally didn't know, because in high school, you don't prepare for rehearsal. You show up and your teacher teaches you your parts. And then after, 3 months, you're able to put together 20 minutes of music. But that's high school, and that's not how music majors in an ensemble do it. And I just have to teach them. Unfortunately, in pre-pandemic rehearsals, there's no time to teach students how to prepare for rehearsal, but now I got all the time in the world. We can meet on Zoom and talk about it. I can schedule, I can give them assignments and have them watch videos and read articles on the subject. And then guess what? So this semester, the first 2 weeks, we didn't have a rehearsal. And then the third week, we had our first rehearsal, and it was way, way better than the third week rehearsal would have been normally. So I was pretty pleased with that. And I don't think it's a bad thing that we have a little extra time that's not on not in the rehearsal hall.
Yeah, totally. It's almost like orchestra's a real class.
Who'd have thought? I just don't want to have to grade a lot of term papers. Oh, I do that enough with my history stuff, man. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No papers. So, but it's, we do what we got to do, get by.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. So, so what's the inspiration behind? So the show started because you're neighbors and because you just decided to hang out, and then you started recording it. So where are you going with the show? Are you going to keep doing it when the pandemic ends?
That's a really good question. I don't think we've even talked about that.
Well, we haven't talked about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. We had always had in mind being able to do this because the show is called Conductors, Brew, and it's about coffee and whatnot. We always thought, how great would it be to highlight a different local coffee shop? Not one of the big chains, but like someplace that's really Salt Lake City, that has great coffee and a great environment, and we could record a show in there. And then we thought, well, why not turn it into an afternoon thing, a Friday afternoon thing, and do a Conductors bubbly brew, at a brewery.
Yes, a brewery
or distillery or something, because Salt Lake has a great craft beer industry and distillery industry. Yeah, it's kind of under the radar in a lot of ways, but we can't wait for that. So we're looking forward to being able to be indoors and talking with each other finally.
We have a very nimble kind of technical setup. It's basically this microphone and my iPad. So we can make that work. But yeah, Matt's absolutely right.
Fully mobile.
Yeah,
mobilized.
Exactly. Because the idea is about conversations, and we would, like I said, once the pandemic is hopefully over soon, that we can get out and go to people, and also like go to area, like go to a rehearsal. We did one show where we went to the Salt Lake Symphony's rehearsal outside and like record what people are doing with their rehearsals or their performances, and then interview them about it. So we really want to take the show on the road, quite literally. Once it's safe to do things.
We're not trying to compete with NPR or anybody, but we do like the idea.
They're not worried.
They're not. No, it's great. I think it'd be great. Yeah, it'd be great to just visit different rehearsals and to maybe bring a beverage and have a coffee mug that says this may be wine on it, and actually have wine in it. That would be wonderful.
This is why I have to take care of the technical stuff.
Yeah, Larry's the tech guy. I'm the coffee guy.
You're the coffee guy. That's very important.
We try to share the duties evenly.
I have a fantasy that in my I'm calling this season 1, but I don't really know what that means because I record them whenever I want, and I change the theme every now and then. But I have a fantasy that season 2 is going to be face to face in a coffee shop, different places around the country. But then I realized that I have to travel and I have to pay for all that.
Yeah.
I can do it in my room. I can do 5 of these a week or none. It doesn't matter, and they cost me nothing, and it's pretty easy.
So you're going to keep your show going too then, once this is all, in the after times, so to speak?
I might make, yes, I think so, but I think I'll make them very infrequent. I might do like 5 shows a year or 10 shows a year or something like that. It'll be whenever I'm in another city and I could link up with a conductor there and do a thing face to face live. But I'm certainly not going to like travel to a new city every week just so I can make this dumb show.
Yeah. Well, if you're ever in our neck of the woods, I mean, Salt Lake City's beautiful. Nobody should need an excuse to come to Salt Lake City, in my opinion, if you're an outdoorsy person, because the mountains have so much to offer, and the desert does too. I think the thing is, it's kind of, we're in the middle of the country, and either people are going to the East Coast, or they're going to the Front Range of the Rockies on the east side, or they're skipping over Salt Lake to go to LA or San Diego or something. But if you're ever in our neck of the woods, we'd love to get together for coffee.
Yeah, we'll have you in the front yard.
I will accept that invitation, because I've never been to Salt Lake City, but I've been in Utah, and I find Utah just a gorgeous state. For people that have never been there, it's totally underrated. And I think anyone who's been there would agree that it's just beautiful. And from north to south and east to west, like totally different.
It is. Totally different. It's amazing how it changes. It becomes this amazing spring oasis up in the mountains, up in the Rockies. And then we've got these two large basins where it's basically just flat oil country, and you get south far enough and you're into Colorado River territory, and we're talking about getting down to the huge canyons.
That's Moab.
Yeah. And out to the west is Great Salt Lake Desert, which is stunning, especially this time of the year. You can walk out onto the salt flats, literally off of the interstate. You're not supposed to. There's places to pull off, and it's amazing just to see. I think that stretch out towards Wendover is that's Nevada. It's I-80 goes. It must be 10 miles at least.
Yeah, it's the Bonneville Salt, the very famous Bonneville Salt Flats.
I mean, you can see the curvature of the earth. It's so flat. It's really amazing.
It's where they do all those land speed testing things.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, and UFO sightings probably.
Yeah, lots of UFOs out there.
Dugway Proving Grounds is out there. It's the new Area 51.
Weird.
You both sound like you love Utah. Are you from Utah? Either or both of you?
No, I'm originally from eastern North Carolina. I grew up on the coast, on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Emerald Isle specifically area, Cape Carteret. But came out here to do my doctorate, and have been out here for almost 10 years now.
10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
almost getting there.
I grew up in Connecticut and studied in Connecticut and in Georgia, and then came out here to do a doctorate as well. And that's actually where I met Larry when I came out to do an audition with Rob Baldwin, who's the director of orchestras here at the U. Larry was the commander-in-chief at the time, or number one.
I was the first. I was the first assistant.
We're going to go with the Star Trek analogies. Yes, and so he kind of showed me around, showed me the ropes, and we just sort of hit it off, I guess, didn't we? And we did. And we stayed in touch when I decided to come out, and we've been shooting the stuff ever since.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
How fortunate that you both moved to a place, you loved it, and you're able to stay there.
It is. In a way, I have to say it's. I wish I could. I love to travel. I wish I could see other places. It's just not happening right now for the obvious reasons. And I can't wait to see other places in the country and in the world. But I always will feel like Utah is partly home. Pardon us while we have a gas-powered trash garbage thing.
We got a guy from the city checking the trash cans out here.
They love to get in our case about putting plastic bags in the recycling.
Yes, it's the recycling police. But yeah, it's a beautiful place to be, and you're very outdoorsy. I'm kind of outdoorsy, but man, if you love hiking, outdoor stuff, this is the place to go. This is the place to be, for sure.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, I'm really glad I got to meet you, and I'm glad I got to meet at least one guy who loves coffee as much as me.
I'm getting there.
I feel like I could learn a lot from you about coffee, because I just do the same old all the time. But
I admire people who can do the same thing every day and still love it. I have a hard time with that. I always have. It's one of the reasons I found trumpet playing to be so difficult. Just doing the same warm up every day, the same 2-hour routine every day. I picked the wrong profession anyway as a conductor, but it's at least you see different stuff every day. But no, likewise, it's been great to meet you and to chat with you, and I hope to do it again soon. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, well, I'll have to make a trip out there and we'll do it in person.
Sounds good, man.
All right. Cheers, fellas.
Thanks. See you, Silas.
Cheers.